now everybody's got smartphones, and some of these smartphones have pretty high resolution, or what are they HD? Everything's HD. How does that feel for you? It seems
you are old, John. What is this thing called again? The HD?
This is the Roundabout Podcast. We're your hosts. I'm John.
And I am Jeremy. We are joined by our dear friend Mo as we talk about the subject of change. How do you navigate when you're right smack dab in the middle of it? Join us today as we talk about that on this episode of the Roundabout Podcast. So today we are going to be talking about the issue of change. And with us today is my dear sweet friend Mo Schultz. And when John and I...
she's my friend too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. I just...
They're actually enemies. So
Mo and John will not be talking this whole episode.
I will only be talking to you, Jeremy, throughout the whole podcast.
If there's anything you want to say to her, pass it through me, and
this is going to be a therapy session.
Yeah. So when John and I started coming up with ideas for the podcast a long time ago, because as we stated in previous episodes, this podcast has been a long time coming, just planning and delays and whatnot. But one of the things that we decided is that we do want to, as we've brought up, we want things. We wanted to bring up things that people in our stage of life. Man, that makes us sound old.
We're old.
Mo, how old are you?
37.
37? Well, you're still in your 30s. I'm still technically in my 30s for a little bit.
Upper 30s now.
Yeah.
That's cute.
But John,
44.
As I close in on 50.
Come on.
I'll be 45 this year.
All right. Well, anyway, we
darn kids.
I feel like all three of us, is this just, do I sound desperate when I say that all three of us seem pretty young, or I feel like we're genuinely pretty young old people.
Yeah.
Cue the Rod Stewart Forever Young song.
Forever young.
No, I feel like we all are pretty youthful. We like to,
I went ice skating
guys.
today.
Yeah, we're all pretty youthful.
We may look old and
ice skating
bitter
today.
and angry, but...
Yeah, I can still skate.
Do you have to put, some sort of, icy hot on your ankles tonight or anything?
Did you fall at all?
No.
Really?
A couple of times. One of those.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Oh, yeah. You can't see me.
Yeah.
So.
No, they can see you.
Oh, I guess through here, yeah.
What, how old, your girls were with you, right?
Yeah.
So were they the youngest of the group?
No, because Malin and Tenley were there.
Oh, so there's, okay.
Yeah, younger kids.
A big group.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, sorry, squirrel. So the three of us, we're in the middle of our life, like some of you may be, and we wanted to talk about just things that as you go through life that you deal with. And one of the things that I thought about was change in life. And sometimes there's very minuscule changes that we have to go through, a job change, which actually can be pretty drastic at times. Yeah.
Hair loss.
Hair loss. I went through that change right out of high school.
Very young.
Dude, I was thinning
that had to be traumatic for you.
Did
you embrace it or did you?
No, I fought it for a while.
Did you go through a denial stage? Like, oh boy.
Not denial, but I just was like, well, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe it's not that bad. But then after a while, I'm like, I'm just gonna shave it. It's easier when I fight it.
Yeah.
But so the topic of change came up, and as we were talking, our friend Mo, not just my friend, our friend Mo came up, and because as you'll find out soon enough in this episode, she has changed more than anyone that I've known in my life.
Hopefully for the better.
Definitely, 100% for the better, and it's. There's been some fun, quirky changes in there, like things that you still have. You've still hung on to the quirks in some ways, but we'll talk about that. And Mo's just going to share her story here with us a little bit of her journey of change. And we teased her and said that we're just going to now turn it over to her and just have her talk for the next 40 minutes. Mo. All right, there's a couple. How do we want to start this? There's a few different things that I want to talk about. So the biggest, I want to start with the oldest and most recent transition, if that makes sense. It'll make sense in a.
Well, what kind of changes are we talking about here? Is this, maybe I don't know Mo as well as I thought I did.
No. This is. I say the oldest because it's a trait that I've known of Mo for the longest, which is that she's like clean freak, kind of germaphobe in a way, and so that's like something that has always been there with Mo.
Right.
But the most recent in that Mo has just recently joined us on our backpacking trips, and so, Mo, do you want to?
Yeah, to go from someone who never went camping, hates bugs, really never enjoyed the outdoors, to backpacking. I mean, it's crazy. So I guess I'll start from when I was young. I did go camping once with my stepdad and my sisters, and I hated every minute of it. And I said, I will never do that again. My mom didn't like camping. It just wasn't something we did as a family. And then as my kids got older, I felt like they were missing out on this awesome opportunity. And every year, all of our friends went camping, and we watched them make these amazing memories together. And I wasn't giving that to them. And I just felt a little guilty about it.
What did you see that your kids were missing, or that you guys were missing, or whatever? Like, why? I mean, I know you always talk about like FOMO. And stuff.
I have FOMO bad.
Is it? Is that all it was? Was just
no, not for the camping part. It was I wanted them to feel that freedom and that excitement, and being out in nature and exploring and hanging out with their friends and just having a good time. And I felt like I was robbing them of that. So I just said, all right, I'm in. What do I need to buy? Because that's how the conversation always starts. I just think if I'm going to go, I'm going to do it right, and I'm going to get everything I need, and I'm going to be comfortable. So, I mean, yeah, I'm the one who would go camping, and I would bring an air mattress. Like, of course, I want to be comfortable, but just whatever I needed, I would get. And I had an amazing time that first trip. That was just a few years ago. Yeah. My first camping trip with all of you.
I got a question for you too. So I can totally see what you're talking about as far as like, I don't think I'm going to like this. I know this is way out of my, but you're going to do it because I want to say I jumped out of my comfort zone, right?
And I did it.
How quickly after the trip, like you just said that you really discovered that you loved it, did you look back and go, you know what? I didn't need all these little fancy amenities.
No, I needed it all.
You did need it all. You still, okay, so you still.
So this is the thing. This is where the quirk still sticks.
The cleanliness, all of that. Like I have to have my water jug and my soap so I can wash my hands. As long as I can wash my hands, I feel like I'm somewhat clean, and I can wash my face and brush my teeth. Then I feel.
You know what's funny? There's people that don't camp that's their standard. Even just having all the amenities.
Yeah.
As long as they can wash their hands, they're fine. Then that's all they do. So
that's
just a thought.
I really loved it. I realized while I was doing it, I'm just watching everybody have such a good time, enjoying each other's company. I mean, honestly, I would probably never camp by myself. Mm-hmm. It's just not as fun. We go with all of our friends, and the kids we don't even know where they are all day. I mean, Jeremy can attest to that. We don't even know where our kids go. Yeah. They just run wild.
Please don't call Child Protective Services on us.
And they loved it, right?
They loved it.
They had a great time.
So I just knew, all right, I'm in it. We're camping. And then you guys started going backpacking.
Yeah.
And that's a little different than camping.
Oh, that's a lot different than camping.
Much different. And I just thought you'd come back from these trips and you'd have these great stories and these jokes that I didn't know, and I hated it. I was like, no, I want to laugh too, but I don't know any of these, and I was sad.
It's like that awkward, like,
yeah, like the courtesy laugh.
It's funny.
I felt like I was missing out, and everybody had such a good time. I'm like, all right, Jeremy, I'm doing it. I'm in. And I just, from January to September, every month I would purchase something big that I needed because I didn't have any gear. And I knew it was expensive. So every month I'd purchase something. And, by September, I was like, let's go. And we were just excited to get out there.
So this actually, and this wasn't in our notes or outline or anything like that, but this brings up an interesting part of change, is that change many times involves an investment. And whether it's an investment of time, and energy or whatever, or financial investment. Right. But if the change is something that this kind of goes back a little bit to the episode about learning that we talked about, John, but where if you like, the end result for you is, I want to go and, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like for you, it was, you wanted to be in on the camaraderie and the fellowship that we had.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then also, I mean, right out of the gate, Mo, you were like, because we were going, so for many years, we would go backpacking up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, a state park there called Porcupine Mountains. Beautiful views there, just very nice place to go backpacking, 100%. We took our boys there, me and a friend took our boys there just this last year, and we'll continue to go there as like side trips. But right out of the gate, Mo's like, let's go to Glacier. She's like, go big or go home.
We're doing it big.
Well, you know what always kind of surprised me too is, I mean, I get the whole roughing it thing. There's the hesitancy, and like you said, because my wife's the same way. She's got to have a bed. She's
the amenities.
She's got to have a toilet. That's a big one. But for me, I was like, man, Mo, being in the photography world, would love these views.
Absolutely.
I mean, that had to be unbelievable for you.
Right.
Oh, I forgot we did the Red River Gorge trip first.
We did, yeah,
which was
but
still beautiful.
I wanted it to be a big trip. I didn't want to go to the Porcupines.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just thought, it's not that big.
It's just
and this I've never backpacked in my life. I mean, sure, you go hiking, but I've never done it with a 35-pound pack on my back because it was 35 pounds.
And that was
I think it was 36.
And that was actually funny because when
38.
we all went to Kentucky, Red River Gorge, we all got out, and the first thing we did, remember,
We
like,
weighed
let's
our
stretch,
packs.
we weighed our pack.
Yeah.
And here's Mo, her first time. She's like, oh no.
It weighed as much as Jeremy's.
Mo's was probably, I don't know if both of our, because I had some extra stuff as like just preparing for some of the worst case scenarios, but
it's the amenities. I needed to bring all the things.
Stuff, yeah.
But see, that's what I love about it though too, is there's that weighing it, or literally the costs of it. Like,
right.
And if I have this amenity, that just means it's that
much
more weight I got to carry.
Around.
So you learn to like kind of justify things and also sacrifice it. And there's this mental strategy game that gets played out. And that's what's really fun to me. I really like that.
Like being clean while I'm backpacking is important to me. So I won't sacrifice my wipes. And they weigh a lot, because it's a big pack.
You bring the whole pack.
And I don't care. I'll go through that whole pack in 4 days. And I don't care. Because I want to clean. I want to clean my hands. And
I'm the same way. Same thing. Like underwear. Isn't that clean underwear is not that important.
And I bring a pair for every day.
So I only wore one pair.
So gross. Stop it.
Hey, it's weight.
It is. Every ounce counts. It's true.
Yeah.
But this is where the quirks come in. We get out on the trail and it's getting dark and we're collecting water, and I'm just looking around and I'm like, I'm collecting water and I'm filtering it and I'm going to drink it. This is awesome. And I take a drink and it was good.
Yeah.
And then we get up there and we set up our stuff. We have to set up our tents and everything. And I have to put my pack down.
Oh,
and
this
I'm
is
like,
the best.
And I'm like, oh, it's dirty.
But now she just got this backpack.
Yeah.
This was her first trip out. So this backpack was
brand new.
Spanking new.
Pretty, smelled good, all the good stuff. And I'm like, oh, where do I set this down? Everywhere I set it down is dirty. And I'm like, oh, it goes right out the door. I was like, you know what? I got to set it down. And the second I did that, it was like I was in backpacking mode.
So
then
that was symbolic.
That didn't matter, but I'll never forget that.
There was freedom.
Yeah.
Once you just embraced it.
It is freedom. Because when I'm out there, I am not myself. I mean, 100% the worst.
You are your true self.
No, the worst thing.
Embrace it.
Is pooping in the
woods.
woods.
This is all you said it.
Let's be honest.
We had this conversation like, Mo, I'm totally going to bust you out.
Am I going to say poop?
Hey, can we spend a little time on that subject?
Yeah.
I'm dead serious because that is a big thing.
Before we go into that, okay, I was going to bring that up if Mo didn't bring it up. Yeah. And the thing is that we look at Mo now. There's in these other examples of the change that we're going to bring up. It was okay. Mo just goes from like 0 to a million, because this is a woman who wouldn't swim in a lake because it was dirty.
Oh,
she wouldn't swim in a lake, and now she's pooping in the woods and washing up in a river.
Right. And I jump in and we cleaned up in the river, and I'm like, who am I? Yeah. I don't even know who I am anymore.
We are homeless people, right?
That's what my husband says. He's like, you spend thousands of dollars to live like you're homeless. Like he can't make sense of that. Yeah. But when you have to poop in the woods that first time, I mean, all the dignity goes out the window. Yeah. I mean, it's just, you just know this is what it's going to be.
You have to do what you have to do.
But the views, I mean, come on.
While you're pooping?
They're unbelievable. I mean, the fresh air.
Yeah. Not when you're pooping. I was like, what? No, but Jeremy, we talked about the pooping and stuff, and like, I remember the first time I went with Jeremy.
Yeah.
One of my strategies was empty out before you go. I'm going to try to make this whole trip without, but you got to eat so you can't avoid it.
Right.
But it took forever for me to go. It was almost like it got to the point where I felt like I was a pregnant lady, wondering where the baby was. I was like past my due date. But, man, you're right. Dignity was right out the window. And I remember the first time I had to tell me if this happened to you guys. Maybe not you, Jeremy.
He's a natural.
Yeah, Jeremy's a natural.
I poop in my backyard.
Yeah, he's one with nature.
But my heart was pumping.
You were nervous?
I was so nervous
to go poop?
Well, for two things. I thought, okay, what if I poop in a wrong spot? Which actually happened to me. But I told you that story, right?
No, what
Where
happened?
I went off, and I'm like, all right, I'm looking around, and I'm like, my heart was pumping so bad to the point where like you could hear it in your ear. Boom, boom, boom,
Where
boom.
were you?
I forgot where we were. It might have been Kentucky. I think it was Kentucky.
Where did you go that was
I went
wrong?
far away. Well, here's what happened. So I get ready, get down, find a spot. Drop trow. I'm halfway through this thing, right? And I look up, and I'm like right off a trail, and there's a guy coming. And like we locked eye contact. I'm not kidding you. I like dove behind this like stump
because sometimes you can't tell how far off you are.
That's true.
If it's like over a hill a little bit.
That's true.
So that's what one of my fears were going into it, and it actually happened. I remember thinking like, this is exactly what I was worried about, and it happened to me. So there's those things, but it's one of those things that once you do it,
you're good.
Well, I'll tell you what. You went to Glacier with us. And I think we all agree, I would much rather poop in the woods than that pit that was out there at Glacier National
Pit toilets. We had to go to the bathroom in those, and the smell was rancid.
That was rough.
I mean, so when we were on the trail to and fro, I mean, obviously there's not always a pit toilet where you have to go to the bathroom. Right. Is it wrong to say that?
No.
We peed.
No,
sometimes off the trail.
They know if you have to do it, you do it.
And I mean, he was saying he's afraid someone's going to see him off the trail.
The EPA is going to be calling you.
They're coming for me. I was more afraid that you guys were going to see me. How many times? Every time I had to pee.
You're like, don't
look. And they're like, why would we want to look? I just didn't know if you would accidentally turn around. Yeah. So it's funny.
You know what? And that's there was some comedian, I can't remember who it was, but he goes, if you want somebody to not look at you, the worst thing that you can do is yell, don't look. Yeah. Don't look at me.
I was asking for it. But yeah, the experience.
Now, John, your wife, Crystal, who has since decided to never go backpacking again.
Which makes me sad.
She had the opposite pooping experience. This is a way longer on pooping than I thought we were going to talk, but she was like
a big part of it for people, though.
She was trying to get it out.
On the way up.
She had a strategy laid out.
Trying to get it out. She could not go to the bathroom. And we get on the trail, and no kidding, 20 minutes to the trail, she had to go.
Yeah.
So it was just like, oh.
And here's the thing.
Get it out. You're getting it out of the way quick here.
The thing is I remember being shocked because I'm like, if she's got to go, whose stomach's grumbling? Is that mine?
Yeah, I think so.
How do you know?
Well, it's not mine.
Oh.
Is it yours?
No.
Maybe it is mine. I apologize if it is.
I'm sorry, folks. I apologize for this.
You're probably hearing a weird. Anyhow, I knew she had to go. If she had to go that early and took the backpack off and everything, I'm like, wow, she must really got it.
But how great to just get it out of the way. My first time was in the dark. So after we set up that first night in Red River Gorge, I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, I can't believe my first time. It's
in
scary.
The dark?
You can't see. Yeah. So I dragged our friend Bree with, and I just be my lookout. Help me find a spot, because this was new to me.
Girls take other girls to the bathroom even when there's not a bathroom.
We do. I needed moral support. This was my first time doing this.
Bree's a vet. She's done
in
this
the dark.
Many times.
Yeah, she had gone on 2 trips already. She knew what to do. So she found me a nice little log to sit on. We dug a little hole. We had it all planned out, and she was my lookout. So she was standing farther from me to make sure that nobody on the trail saw. But it's just the worst to have to do that in the dark. It's cold. You don't know where the animals are.
Yeah. Well, and good thing too. We didn't have to worry about bears.
Right.
At
Not on
Red
that
River
trip.
Gorge. So yeah. But
yeah.
So this is right out of the gate. That's like a pretty. I say superficial, but I don't want to make too light of it, because that was a big deal for you to overcome being out in the woods and that. But there was a lot of payoff right away, just to be on that trip, being with friends and stuff.
Yeah. Immediately.
Yeah. And so So let's talk about some other changes, Mo, that you've made in your life. I wanted to let's talk about the funnier one first. Okay. And
Is this the pepper story?
This is the pepper story. All right. So
I'm so ashamed.
This will go hand in hand. The topic of just diet, nutrition, eating also goes with just in Mo's life. She's been on quite a health and fitness journey over time, and I'm gonna. Do you want to tell the story, or should I'm gonna tell the story?
You tell it.
All right. So Mo, this was going on 15 years ago, almost something
probably.
like that, and I've gardened for quite some time. I've been a pretty intense gardener on some things, and I don't like adding anything to any of my vegetables. It's like they're totally organic. They're a lot of times they're organic seed and no chemicals added or anything like that. And so Mo comes over. You had been out running errands or something like that, and Mo comes over. And she's like, "Oh,
I wanted a snack."
She wanted a snack, and it was like, I don't know if it was like you missed dinner or something like that.
I have no
but
idea.
She was hungry, and she goes, "Oh, I'm so hungry. Do you guys have any like chips or something to snack on or something like that?" And I was like, this is like proud, almost like daddy moment as a gardener.
Look
like you're
what
like,
I created.
this is my offspring, and so I go, "Oh," I'm like excited to offer this to her. I'm like, I just got some orange peppers out of the garden today, and I said I could cut a pepper up for you if you want. And she goes, "You got it out of the garden, like from the dirt?" And I'm like, "Mom,
It was dirty. I didn't want to touch it.
What did we washed it off?
No, it makes no sense. Where did the vegetables come from in the store?
From the dirt.
It's
Yes.
ridiculous.
Yeah. So I'm like, Mo, this is like the best,
It's mind blowing.
like the healthiest,
How
best
dumb
tasting
I was.
produce that you can
I know.
have. And so,
Wow.
so now, Mo,
Shame.
just go through some of your and this is something too where and Mo knows this, John knows this, like in how, and anybody who's watching, this is something we will in future episodes definitely touch on different areas of health and fitness and exercise, all of these kind of things. We want to dig more into a lot of these things, but at this point in life, this is something that we've heard the term like small incremental changes, but there's also sometimes there's just big changes. But this is something that we're knowing Mo for as long as I've known you. I've seen a lot of change in your life in this area. So share whatever you want to share about this. You got the chair.
Okay. All right. So I wasn't always, I went through, as a kid, I had a chubby stage. And then
Amen.
I was,
Me too.
and then I got fit. I played sports and I was really active in high school. I wasn't overweight. And then after high school, I kind of got a little lax, as one might, even though I didn't, go away to college or anything. I gained the freshman 15 and I wasn't even off to college. But I got comfortable. Yeah, John proposed to me when I was 18. I knew we were going to get married soon after.
Hold on.
Not
Hold
him.
on.
No, sorry.
Not him.
Sorry.
I proposed 4 years prior to that, and I was turned down. This is the other John.
And I was turned down.
Did not even think about that. My husband, John, so Jon, different John, proposed to me when I was 18. So you just get comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
You get married, and then he worked third shift, and I worked first shift, and I'd come home and I was alone, and I would just eat cereal for dinner or whatever. I just didn't. I was a
I'm like
mess.
visualizing all this. I just ate cereal.
I was a hot mess.
What kind of cereal?
Yeah, I was going to say Cookie Crisp. What are we talking?
I
Sugar
loved
Smash?
like Kellogg's with the strawberries and the yogurt pieces.
Oh, Mo.
I know. I didn't
yeah.
like sugary cereal, but I
Doesn't even
love
go-
cereal's the worst. I mean, come on.
Oh,
it doesn't
yeah,
matter.
it's horrible for you, but
Sugary or not, it's the worst. And, I would eat that every day for dinner or whatever. And I had gained a lot of weight. And then I got pregnant with Kennedy and I gained some more. I wish I would have brought pictures. I'm going to have to give them to you so you can show. And it's not like, oh, this fat girl turned skinny. It's not that at all. And I don't want that to be the topic here. I was unhealthy.
Yeah.
And that is what bothered me the most. I felt like crap all the time. It didn't matter if I was 50 pounds overweight or 30 pounds overweight. I didn't feel good. And it wasn't like a joints thing or bones or whatever. It was my stomach, my gut. I was killing it with all the crap that I was eating. And I just, I would try different things 'cause I wanted to lose weight too. I just wanted to like feel better about myself. So I did, all the diets, or at least a few, and they'd work for a little bit. Then as soon as you stop, it doesn't work anymore, and then you gain the weight back.
Not sustainable.
Right. Yeah. It's not sustainable. And we'll talk about that too. And then one day in 2014, I just said, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I feel terrible all the time. And my friend had told me about the paleo diet and eating clean and what that included. And I thought, I know dairy messes with me, gluten messes with me. Let's try it. And about a week in, I did another thing I said I would never do. I'm like, I'm going to try CrossFit. I'm going to actually try it. Even though I always thought it was ridiculous, I'm going to try it. And I knew that our friend Matt had his L1 and he had coached, and
L1 is like a certification level for CrossFit coaches.
Right. So he had a garage gym, and I called him up and I said, I really want to try this. And he said, okay, I want you to give me 3 days a week for at least a month. Don't leave before then. I really want you to give me what you can here, but at least 3 days. And I just never looked back. It was like the changes that I made, it happened immediately. Like within a couple of months, I lost so much weight and I felt incredible. It was like I didn't want to look back.
Do you remember how much weight you lost? I want to clarify too that that's not
right. I know
weight loss is a byproduct, but that's not the only indicator. But I'm just curious.
Right. It was 36 pounds or something. I was one
in how fast?
Within 6 months or something.
I thought you were going to say the first month, 36 pounds. Like
no. But I had found something that worked for me, and it was sustainable, and it was really cool to see the changes so quickly. I thought, and I just felt so good.
Isn't that the key though?
Yeah.
The feeling so good. I mean,
you don't want to go back.
Losing the weight, that's just another added benefit to what you were doing.
Exactly.
But man, that whole feeling good, and I can relate to that too in some of the diet things that I've explored in losing weight, and it just. I get so mad at myself because I slide back into it. Like you said, I'm still working on finding something that's sustainable. But man, those moments, that natural high where your body just starts craving good food and you just feel like
you have energy. Yeah. Your mind is clear.
Yeah, feels amazing.
Right.
You shed weight super fast when you're going at it.
When I go at it, I can go at it. Yeah.
Guys do. You suck.
I know. But here's my thing though, and maybe you'll touch on this a little bit, is that sustainable. Right. You said you were going to talk about having something that you can sustain. Right. I think the word that kind of follows right behind that is balance, And,
right.
And that's the thing I struggle with. It's like for me, I've always been one of those people that like, if I go, hey, I need to get my act together. I need to get healthy here. I got to start doing this. And I know this isn't a good quality of mine, but it's like, I think like I got to do it now. And what, I mean, I'm not kidding you, Jeremy. And Mo, I had a moment. You can ask my wife. I went through a period of where I was running every day.
No, when you get disciplined, you're a little obsessed.
I
right?
got obsessed, but I'm not kidding you. You can ask Crystal. I'm not kidding you. I think I went over 3 months where I ran every day.
Yeah.
And to the point where if I took a day off, which you should be doing
Absolutely.
to let your body rest, I would lay in bed or whatever. And we used to have a TV in our old house. We'd be sitting there and I'm like, the guilt would set in.
And then
I would be laying in bed with my pajamas on and I would get up and I'm like, I'm going to run. I got to run. I got to do it. Seriously.
Wow.
I know.
I didn't know you were that.
I was that obsessive with it. And in a way I can look at it like that it was successful for me. I dropped a lot of weight. I felt good, but mentally it wasn't balanced right. It was never going to sustain itself.
Well, and that's, you said it was successful because of the weight loss or whatever, but this is where, we have to be careful how we define success in this.
Right.
Because success is, if you get into the best shape of your life within a 6-month time frame, but then you gain it all back or worse, were you really successful? Well, or did you just hit a goal and then...
Yeah, the thing that's scary about that too is that isn't good for your body to yo-yo like that. You can't. That's not good to like drop all this weight and then all of a sudden put it back on and then drop a little. So, yeah. Totally.
And I think that's the only way you'll find success in health and fitness is if you find something that is sustainable.
Yeah.
If you don't, you're just going to quit. and you might gain the weight back, or you might feel terrible again. You might lose some muscle, whatever.
Mo, I'm sorry to jump in one more time here.
John.
I felt like all the times that John.
We talked about, sorry, I have to explain that now.
Explain it, please.
Before the episode, we said, okay, we have to make sure we don't interrupt. And John said, if I interrupt, you guys just call me out.
I know, I got a bad habit of it. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But I'm just so afraid I'm going to lose my thought later.
No, you're good.
But I was going to say, the moments that I had found true success is when the purpose of going at it was to be healthy and to feel healthy.
Right.
If I made losing weight the top priority, that's when it got out of whack, and that's when I would be obsessive, because it's like I was all about, I got to lose a pound, I got to lose a pound. When I was successful, it was kind of like, it was more, I was making it a lifestyle.
Right.
You know?
And you don't want to be a slave to the scale. I think it's good to use it as a marker at times, but that isn't everything. And you know that, especially for women, different time of the month, hormones, that changes, bloating. I mean, that will change your weight. And for you to wake up every day and to, and you see that up and down for that week and you get frustrated, there's just no point to it, because
And so for the people who are listening or watching,
the person who is listening.
Thank you, sir.
This is only episode 3, Jeremy.
For the millions that are listening to you, Mo.
I'm teasing.
How does a person stick with these changes that they've made when they don't see? Now, I don't know how fast you saw or felt the difference.
I mean, within a week, even.
So and maybe
feeling good.
Okay, and that's what I was going to say. Maybe explain that, because for someone who's not seen the numbers on the scale turn back, and this isn't just. I mean, this is an example right now that we're giving about health and weight loss and things, but like, no matter what the change might be, but like, if we don't see the change right away, it's a matter of how do you stick with those with the plan when you're not seeing, if it's not as dramatic as you think it should be right away, or maybe like when you said you changed those diets and stuff like that. How did you what gave you motivation, I guess, when you're like, I can't do that one, I have to switch to something else, instead of just saying, I'm going to quit, like whatever? Is that something that
I think it just becomes a part of you?
Yeah.
Working out. And by the way, I'm no expert in this area at all. I can tell you what's worked for me,
right,
and that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I have read up on a lot of things, and I think that if people are struggling, they're doing all the right things, and they're overweight, and maybe they don't see the weight coming off, there could be a hormonal imbalance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, or a lot of doctors nowadays, they just want to treat symptoms, and I want to get to the root of the problem. So, I had lost 30 some pounds in 2014. I went from, I think, 196 to 151, whatever that is, 35 pounds. And, a couple years later, I had gained some weight, and I'm like, what's going on? I really didn't change too much. But John's dad died. My husband's dad had died, my father-in-law. And then 2 weeks later, my dad died out of nowhere. I mean, it was not something that we anticipated. And my world was turned upside down. We had to move. We moved into my dad's house. I mean, that was our choice, but we, had to get everything out of there. We had to renovate. There were a lot of things that happened, and my thyroid got all out of whack. And I didn't know that until I went and had everything tested and had my hormones tested. Mm-hmm. And as soon as we got all that in order, it was easy to hop back on track. It was like, it happened naturally after that.
And and I know with that, there's cortisol, the stress hormone and stuff that can go, can cause weight gain. And,
absolutely.
And, there's so many things with that. So
right. It is all about balance.
Yeah.
So, I don't follow the paleo lifestyle anymore, but I count my macros, because I think that's the most balanced way of living for me. And I do it with MyFitnessPal, because that app, if I didn't do it, there's no way I could be able to keep track.
This podcast is not sponsored by.
Brought to you by FitnessPal.
And if you guys have any questions about any of this stuff, post it in however you're consuming this podcast. Post it. Go to our YouTube page, Facebook, whatever, and we'll do our best to direct you to whatever resources we can, or answer the questions ourselves. But
right.
Yeah, I mean, you were saying like the paleo lifestyle and leaving that and stuff, and I think that's something too that with change we have to plan our changes. I mean, sometimes we don't have the choice, but we have to plan our changes when we can, but we also have to be willing to call an audible. Kind of,
right.
You know what I mean? Like you have to be willing to adjust and adapt and everything, and
that happened.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this worked for 2 years and almost 3 years, whatever. And I loved it. But it just didn't really work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Eating that clean all the time just got, and not hard, but I needed balance.
Yeah.
I was going to say with change, I think a big part of change too is committing.
Right.
You know, you can say you want to change, but if you're really not in it for the change, it
takes discipline.
It takes discipline.
Absolutely.
And there's a commitment. And yes, you might have, like you said, you have to make some adjustments, or maybe you did slack off a day or two, but you got right back on it.
Right.
You recommit. You stayed true to it.
Oh, and there's been many
and I think,
times.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
having that commitment is a big thing, and patience, and just again for me, I found the most success for me, and I know I'm going to surprise you guys when I say this, but I'm not an expert on fitness and dietary stuff, despite the physique. But the focus on just living healthy. I mean,
Right.
we just talked about. You just said at the beginning of this year, we're all kind of in our. I don't know how you described it.
We're all middle-aged.
Middle age, right?
Middle of our life.
Well,
Yeah.
we're at the age now where you don't start
You
taking
make-
care of this
Right.
body.
I wake up with a stiff back.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm
You
saying,
know?
Man,
there's
old.
people,
I know.
there's people in their 50s having heart attacks.
Right.
There's diabetes. You name it. There's a bunch of stuff out there that if you don't start taking it seriously now, and I'm speaking to myself. I'm not preaching this to anybody, but I start to think to myself like, you're not 19, John, where you can just slam
Right.
5 sodas and
Well, now this is something that I did. I was wondering. This is funny because I was wondering when's the first time that we're going to bring up COVID on this podcast? And
we're gonna beep that word out.
This is it right now. Yeah. Do we get? Oh, I think like YouTube like flags our video for this.
Oh.
With stuff like this, like coronavirus and COVID and stuff like that, like wherever you stand. Okay, we're not going to get into that kind of goofiness or whatever, but wherever you are on it, diseases, sicknesses, and stuff like this in general, taking care of your body, I shouldn't say whether, I should say all of these things are included: diet, nutrition, exercise, vitamins, sleep, hydration. I get a hard time from guys all the time because I pee a lot, okay? And it's not like they're like, oh, do you have like prostate stuff or something? I'm like, no, I just drink a lot of water. But it's so good for you to drink water and like stuff like that. Like if you want to boost your immunity status, it's
40
actually
ounces.
Coke. It's Coke.
Do you guys
in there.
got
She don't let her
do you
lie.
guys got-
She's drinking Coke.
Do you guys got diapers on or something
yes.
for the amount of water you're pounding?
But
Holy-
so and I wanted to touch on two things: the commitment thing and then also the balance thing. Okay, so I'm going to give you 2 back-to-back weekends. All right. We talked about in the first episode that Mafia game that we played, and Mo was there. She was my cohort against John. That
We were
night.
in the Mafia.
We got him.
Oh, we got him.
Oh,
good.
we talked about that. Yeah, we got him so good. So
did my wife.
so it's like, thanks for bringing that up again.
Liar.
So that night, that was a Friday night. Mo on Monday got a hold of me and she goes, I need to get, and this is part of change too. This is part, like there's planning and accountability is another
that's
thing.
a big one.
And Mo and I have just like with intermittent fasting, we're like, we know it works, but it's not always fun. It's not always fun, especially when you go to somebody's birthday hangout and they've got Leon's frozen custard.
All the good stuff.
And
Wow,
cake.
you guys are
and
condemning me here.
cookies and
I ate
those-
all that at Matt's birthday.
Well, normally we would have.
But this is the thing.
But the Monday before the party,
Yeah.
I was like, I need to get
We're
my
like,
act
will
together.
you do this? Will you do this?
I
with me?
had
I'm
a
like,
bad weekend.
Mo, I'll do it. I will do it. So
So we committed to
yeah,
fasting.
but then on that Friday, I'm like, Mo.
Oh, he tried to.
I'm like, Mo, do you really want to do this? And then
What?
she's like, we are not eating that stuff. And so I'm like,
I looked him dead in the eye. I was
go-
like, don't you dare.
I was like, good. I was just testing you.
Yeah. Well,
But-
I said, why do you think I'm in the living room? I'm away from the food for
it
a
was-
reason.
that was-
It was delicious,
that
I'm
was
sure.
hard. But I'm glad
Right.
that we did that.
Yeah.
And it pays off. But then fast forward to the following weekend when you're like, oh, this weekend I was so bad. And you know what? I told Mo? I said, look,
Balance.
first of all, it's
Did you say it like that too? Like, look,
I said, listen, Missy.
look, lady.
I said, this is the thing. It's done. Okay, so don't sweat it. And I brought up cortisol. I was like, when you get stressed out, you'll gain weight from that. So I'm like, don't stress about it. It's
said,
done.
oh, good point.
And
Not stressed.
but beyond that, I mean, there's I can now. This is going to totally sound like justification to some people, but like I said, there's calorie cycling. You know, if you're cutting back during the week, sometimes it's okay for your metabolism so that you don't, you know, plateau to cycle a little bit more calories on the weekend and stuff. And you know, we went through these things, but the thing is, don't beat yourself up.
Right.
Get back on it.
Life ebbs and flows.
Yep.
Period. I mean, it does. Things happen. You know, I didn't anticipate my husband's dad dying, my father-in-law, and my dad 2 weeks apart from each other. I mean, it was awful. It was the worst year, but it happens.
Yep.
Was my diet perfectly on point? No. I didn't work out after my dad died, I didn't work out for 3 weeks. And that was the longest I hadn't worked out in years. And I remember going back to the garage with Matt and Bree for that first workout. And I was just sad, and they knew it. And they were like, you know, they just loved on me, and they're like, let's do it. You know, I just I mean, you know, that diet and nutrition, health and fitness, 80% of it is mental. It just is. Before you even put that bite in your mouth, it all starts here. And I feel like it just ebbs and flows. Life ebbs and flows. So it's all about balance.
Yeah.
It's
well,
good.
The discipline thing,
Right.
like you just said, like
That's
you
huge.
walked out of the room, like that takes some discipline to do that.
Yeah, but I'm not always disciplined.
But recognizing where your weaknesses are, though, too. So where you could have been like, well, no, I got this under control. You know, I'll stay out there. I'll stay by them.
I just knew that.
You just knew that. Hey, look, out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
I can focus on. You know,
And had I eaten everything, it just would have thrown me off mentally more than physically.
Yeah.
It wasn't about like feeling crappy at that point. It was like mentally, I was having a good week, and I just wanted to make sure I continued that.
Yeah.
So it was good.
Yeah.
It was good.
And so there's these different, there's health and fitness changes. There's just quirkiness changes now. Mo,
I'm nervous. What are you going to tell them?
I don't know what what should I tell him? She's still a neat freak. I won't divulge all of your
little OCD.
craziness. Yeah.
The doctor said I wasn't OCD, but I had OCD tendencies when I was a teenager.
How do they determine that?
Based on the stuff that I tell them, I'm sure.
I've never taken that test.
Oh, you?
But I don't know
for
if I
sure.
would tell them everything. Do you push chairs in every time you get out?
No, you didn't today at the restaurant.
I actually didn't. I got called out.
I think
We
that
called him
waitress.
back.
I think the waitress distracted you and you just forgot about it.
I was just excited to get back here and do this. Have this with Mo.
This is
my mind was on that.
John is definitely OCD.
Yeah, that'll be a whole nother.
Yeah.
I think I might be on a whole nother level there.
We're gonna have. It's gonna be. That's gonna be a therapy.
You know, you got OCD when you got an OCD person going, "Wow, you got OCD."
You're bad.
Like you're bad. You're making me look good right now.
So
No, it's good.
So and then Mo, I suppose. I mean, there's other things that we can get into with change in your life as well. But one of the things too was how old were you when you decided to get into photography? Mo is one of the most. John, should I do it? No, you do it.
I'll say it. She's
My
the most
face is
talented
red.
photographer that I've ever known. Mo,
but legitimately, Mo,
you're very
you guys
good.
Are sweet.
You have a very good eye for it, and
Thank
you're
you.
just good. And sure, there's tons out there that are great.
There are.
But you're the best one I know.
I
This
have plenty
episode
of.
sponsored by Mo Schultz Photography.
I have plenty.
Just kidding. It's
That
not.
day, that just got me a free
It's not.
photo
Yeah.
package.
No.
Yes. Yes.
Mo, I wish that you were doing photography when Raven and I got married because we've got like the yearbook.
Dude, I got that.
Very
We've got the
Seriously, I'm
yearbook
like
posts
mad.
and stuff.
I look at our
Oh,
wedding photos
man.
and I get mad
you know
because
what?
of Mo.
Seriously,
It's my fault.
I'm
seriously.
like, I got ripped off.
when we look at like your work and the things that you've done, I mean, Mo's done many beautiful, what would we call them? Photographs, but like sittings. What do you call them?
Sessions.
Sessions.
Yeah,
Sessions. We've got many beautiful photographs from Mo, just family portraits and different things like that. But like when we look at our wedding photos, we're like, why did this trend of like actual good wedding photos? Why did that start
Later.
just
Right.
after we got married?
Right.
Yeah.
I know, it's interesting.
I
I never thought. I always had a camera in my hand growing up because my mom liked to take pictures, so I would take pictures too. But I didn't really know the camera and the functions. I just loved taking pictures of people. Raven and I, Jeremy's wife, we did a shoot when we were, I want to say we were in 8th grade. It was the summer after 8th grade going into freshman year. And we just we like did our hair and our makeup and we like put on cute clothes and we just walked around and took pictures of each other.
I never knew this.
Yes, like in her mom's garden in the back.
Yeah.
And we over by my house, we just kind of like walked around and like took pictures of each other. And it was so fun. And I developed those and it was just cool memories. But I'd never thought I was going to be a photographer. That was the furthest thing from my mind. when it really started, I just started taking pictures of my kids. You know, when Kennedy was born, she's almost 15. And I would take pictures of her, and, you know, people would notice and say, "Oh, you're pretty good. You want to take pictures of my kid?" And that's what Raven did. You know, "You want to take pictures of Max?" I'm like, "I don't know what I'm doing, but sure, bring him over." We literally like set up a sheet, like as a backdrop.
This was after he was born.
Yeah.
But now,
a clean sheet.
Rewind a little bit, Mo, because Mo took photos at the birth of Max as well.
I did.
You were there.
I was at almost all of your births.
Yes, you were. And those are, I mean, there's some
They're precious.
epic photos.
Really cool that we would never show.
Yeah, there's one.
They're bloody.
Yeah, but it's like, man, these are so cool.
I mean, how are you not moved by those photos?
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, like life just right before you,
Just
you know, it's amazing.
starting.
He cries every time. It's the best.
Well,
I cry.
The best photos are.
I'm surprised I haven't cried on the podcast.
Yeah.
But
We'll
That's
get you.
coming.
We'll get you.
That's
The
coming.
best photos are those unstaged, candid
Yes.
life moments.
And you're
that, like,
so good
yeah,
at
and
them, Mo.
But I was going to ask you about that. That's where I would be so stressed out. Like, I've had to do. People have asked me to like photograph, not necessarily photograph, but video at weddings. I think you were at one of the weddings I did, and I was honored to do it, and I enjoyed it. But it was stressful, and I'm thinking,
sure.
man, as a photographer, you know, I remember one time I was videotaping a wedding, and my battery was dying, and it was dying during the father's speech, and I was sitting there sweating. I'm like, and he was going on and on. I'm like, wrap it up, Dad, because the camera was getting ready to shut off, and man, my heart was pumping. And I don't know if we even want to go down this road, but maybe at some point, I would love to hear some of your stories. I gotta imagine from the beginning of this, because you've been doing this how many years now?
9.
Yeah,
9 and a half.
I bet you got some pretty good stories of my god,
absolutely.
yeah. So, but I props to you for that. But I was
Yeah.
going to ask too, like, I don't know much about your childhood, and you guys were friends, like you said, for how many years?
High school.
Yeah, high school and stuff. But I mean, were
Yeah.
you always artistic? Did you?
Yeah,
were you
I
good
liked it.
because you have to have an artistic eye for photography, don't you?
Yeah, I feel like I have, you know, some people are right or left brained. And I feel like I have a little bit of both because
for
I'm
sure.
a perfectionist. There's an order to everything. I'm detail oriented. I love cleanliness. Like I'm a little weird that way, but then also I'm a little artsy, but it's like a very controlled art, you know, like I'm not a free spirit.
Mo was on she was a singer on the worship team for many years when I was, and we're trying to get her back on there. By the way, so.
Hey, sing us a couple
But,
lines a cappella.
Mo,
We
go
don't
ahead.
want to put you on the
Wait,
spot.
Ready?
but-
Go.
Yeah. Well, hey, you'll have to put it in there.
So, but she was on the worship team. But that's something that I've always noticed. Mo, you're like, obviously music is an art, but you're very much like, what is the note that I'm supposed to sing? What are the harmonies? Like
Right.
this needs to be what it needs to be, and it's not
Right.
like you're not like
I'm not
like
a free
the
spirit.
jazz.
I'm not go with the flow.
Yeah.
Mo, we have a lot in common.
I know.
I'm sitting there like things you're describing yourself. I'm like,
I know.
we would have been really good buddies
I
back
know.
in the day.
We would have.
Not anymore.
How does it make you feel? I always thought about this too. It's like now everybody's got smartphones, and some of these smartphones have pretty high resolution, or what are they HD? You know, everything's HD. How does that feel for you? It
You
seems
are old, John. What is this thing called again? The HD? What is that called?
I was wondering why you were making that face. I'm like,
She looked at me, and I could see her out of the corner of my eye. Like, what is it called? The high res?
There's HD. No, but I feel like everybody who has a camera thinks they're a photographer, and
It's
it's
true.
kind of it's got a.
That's good and bad.
It's
Yeah.
good. Listen, I felt that way.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, I had imposter syndrome in the beginning. Do I really know what I'm doing? You know, you just
okay.
kind of fake it till you make it. I mean, I knew what I was doing,
Yeah.
but not entirely. You learn as you go. So when you were saying earlier, you know, is this something I didn't know I was going to do this, and it started off with, you know, take pictures of our family, take pictures, and I'm like, sure, okay, you know, and I would just do it for fun. And then we were at your house, Jeremy, and you and Raven, I'll never forget that day. You both said, you should make this a business. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not good enough.
Well, I was just going to say that's kind of funny. So you're telling me that you would do this for fun. People would ask
Yeah.
you. So there was one point where you're like, I want to get paid.
Yeah.
When
But
did that-
no, this is what she's saying though. Is that I mean, I think you finally came to the realization.
Right. In the beginning, when you were like, you should make a business out of this, I'm like, I can't ask people to give me money. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing.
Can I take a picture of you for $10?
Right. So I just, you know, I didn't feel good enough. And so I just thought, well, I'm going to get to know my camera a little bit better before I make this. Like, I need to know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then, I launched the business, and it started off with family work. I said I would never do weddings. I would never touch them. Because, you were saying high stress, right?
Yeah, but that's what I know you for.
What if I miss a moment?
Oh, man.
You can't go back.
Yeah.
You cannot redo a wedding day. If you miss a moment in a session, you just say, hey, let's redo it. You can't do that on a wedding day. So I said I will never do it. And I had a friend from high school. Her name's Katie. She's the sweetest. She's a couple years older than me. And she said, I would really love it if you shot my wedding. And I said, no way. Like, I will screw this up. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't. And then she came back a couple months later, or maybe it was a few weeks. I don't know. And she said, Mo, please shoot my wedding. And I think I charged her like $650. And I traveled to Green Bay because I don't know what I'm doing. I was like, well, just so you know what you're getting into. This is my first wedding. I have no experience at all. I can research a little bit. I can look and see what I want to do, but I don't know what I'm doing. Are you sure? And she goes, absolutely. I trust you 100%. And from that day forward, I fell in love with weddings.
That's cool.
I mean, I was sick to death that whole ride up there.
So what was your
nervous?
What was your
kind of like right before this podcast tonight?
Sweating balls.
I'm sweating so bad
My
right
feet
now.
are sweating.
What was your career prior to jumping into photography?
I worked at a dental office.
Oh yeah, the dental office. You
yeah.
did. Okay.
I worked the front desk. I was an assistant. I did insurance, all pre-authorizations, all that stuff, and I loved it.
So
I loved it.
a career change.
Yeah.
Big.
Mo, I'm no stranger to career changes, so it's, we won't talk about that.
Oh, that's for another podcast.
Yeah.
I love
Change.
Yeah.
And when you enjoy change a little
Jeremy
too
likes
much,
change. Yeah.
I love change.
And
I do.
I don't. I dread it. I don't like change. I like to keep it on the straight and narrow. I like what works for me. I'm a perfectionist. I don't want to veer.
So that's something that we could actually get into a little bit is why is change, like, what is it about change that's so scary for some people, and what is it about change? I can answer this for me, but I'm curious if you
From
guys
my
have any
point of
thoughts.
view,
I'll tell you after. I'll let you go first about
Sure.
what's so scary about change in some respects.
the
And
unknown.
Well, okay.
Well, I got a question though. Like change
It's-
sometimes.
I'm sorry, John. Real quick though, what's interesting is that the reason I like change is the exact same answer.
The unknown. Yeah.
It's so weird.
I don't
But
like it.
there's different reasons for change. There's forced change, right? I mean, like
Right.
when you
Right.
said your
And
dad
that's-
passed
yeah.
away. It's
I
like
didn't
you
have
had
a
to change
choice.
thing. You didn't
Right.
have a choice. Then there's change because you feel like you need to better yourself, right?
Right.
Then there's change that, and I think you fall in this realm, Jeremy, which is a neat quality to have because I don't have it. But change, just to keep things different and keep things, and I think I'm more
Keeping it spicy.
Yeah, I think I fall more in your realm, Mo. That like I get in a routine. I'm more of a routine guy, and I'm one of those people
too.
that don't. Why change what's good?
Right. It
You
works.
know? Yeah, it worked. Why
Right.
change what works? So
What's interesting is I will say as I get a little older, I think this is the natural course of things as we get older. We settle into things, and I'll say, like, as I've gotten older, I've come to appreciate routine more and that kind of thing. There's and maybe this goes into a little bit with why change is not comfortable is just for that it's what is comfortable. It's comfortable, and this goes into, like, again, what we were talking about a little bit in the last episode about learning and just pushing ourselves into different spaces, is that we're comfortable with what we know. We're comfortable with how things are and stuff, but as I said at the end of that episode, if John had not decided to go backpacking to the Porcupine Mountains, which was, there's some payoff, but minimal payoff, but he would not have ever gotten to the point of going to Glacier,
Right.
and so
which that had a whole bunch of other elements to it. Flying, which Mo, you
Yes,
were
he
there.
was
I was
scared
so
to-
scared to fly, and that in itself opened up so many more possibilities
Right.
for me.
Now I
so,
can take my wife somewhere.
Yeah.
You had never thought about that
Yeah.
before because you were too afraid.
Yeah.
And we're on the plane and we're ready to go to Glacier and we're taking off and I'm like turning around and looking at John.
And
I'm like, how you doing? And just probably making it worse because I'm like calling him out.
No, I wasn't actually. That actually
Okay.
calmed me a
I was
little bit
just
because I'm like,
excited.
okay, she's calm. Because one of
Yeah.
the things I kept saying to you guys, remember this? You guys kept saying, "Are you all right?" Like there would be turbulence or
Yeah.
something. And I'm like, if you guys are all right and this is
Right.
normal, I'm okay.
I mean, I don't love it.
Yeah,
But
but
it's
if it
just
was,
part
I
of
didn't
it.
know that was part of the thing. I
Right.
haven't flown enough to really understand that. But
Right.
yeah, it.
Yeah, Glacier was amazing.
Oh man,
I mean, what an incredible adventure. Minus your blisters, which were the craziest things I've ever seen. I know you probably put up a picture.
No, we didn't, but we'll post this right next
Who's
to.
got those pictures? I don't think I have pictures of.
No, I don't know.
Oh, man.
They're on the Google
I mean, his
Photos
whole
drive.
foot looked like bubble wrap.
Yeah,
I've never seen that in my life.
We've talked about pooping in this episode and bubble wrap feet. But
it was amazing.
Yeah. So change. So what would you say, Mo, to someone who is in a situation in life, whether it is a health situation, something like that, or if it's a job situation that they're not happy with, or whatever. Yeah, I mean, you can kind of fill in the blank. But what would your advice be to somebody who is scared of change? I mean, like you didn't want to do some of those things. Like you didn't want to go swim in a lake and stuff, But what would you say to somebody who's afraid to take those steps towards change? And
just jump, just do it. And it's so easy for me to say that, even though I'm still not great at it. But I am like a hype girl till the end. Like I will hype you up and make you excited and push you and encourage you because I love it. I love making people happy. I love that it makes them feel good. I love encouraging. And if they're afraid, and I've been in that position before, I can just do it. Just try it. It took me 9.5 years to hire somebody in my business, and I needed to hire someone years ago. I was just too overwhelmed. But you get to the point where, like you said, you're forced to change, and something has to give. And I just was at the end of my rope. I can't do this by myself anymore. My clients are waiting too long for their photos, for wedding photos, longer than the contracted time. And I was feeling so guilty because I couldn't keep up with the work. And that was due to COVID, pushing weddings back and making my weekends even crazier when it wasn't planned that way for 2021. But because of 2020, moving into 2021, it was an adventure, all right.
I got a wild idea. From here on out, when somebody says the word COVID, remember Pee-wee's Playhouse?
Yes.
Do you remember Pee-wee's Playhouse?
I remember him, but I didn't watch the show.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say, when you said jump off, remember that, was it that Jump Rock?
Jump Rock. Very.
Okay, I did not jump off that.
I
though.
did, and I was the first one in our group. I was the first one, wasn't I? Like when you and Matt went up there.
Yeah,
and
dude.
Matt is not like me.
No, I was so super impressed with that, John.
But
because John's like comes running through and jumps off. I'm like,
and that was very symbolic for me though too, because leading up to that, I was, and that's the thing too. It's like once you start making these changes or taking some risk or living outside of your comfort zone, which we talked about, it starts, the momentum builds, and you start feeling like, hey, what else can I do that I used to be scared? And you get this braveness about it, and it's really cool, and it's fun. But, there is change. You said some people don't like to, they get comfortable, I think is what you said, Jeremy.
Yeah.
That can be good sometimes. I mean, why change if you're happy and you're satisfied? But I think sometimes satisfied is just because you're settling, and I think that's what you were alluding to. And one of the things I keep thinking about throughout this discussion here is that people are afraid to change because they're afraid of failure. It's failure.
100%. That's my problem. I don't like to fail.
Nobody does.
I'm a perfectionist.
Who likes to fail?
Well, I mean, if you're a perfectionist and you don't want to mess up, I don't like failing, and I don't take risks.
You know what though? I'm glad that you said that, John, because that was something that I wanted to bring up, was that failures are, you can almost 100% guarantee that failures are going to be a part of change.
Absolutely.
Failures are going to be, if you're trying to improve something in your life or just change your situation, if you knew exactly the perfect way to do it, you would have already done it. It's not, you wouldn't be in the steps of having to move forward to it. So, so because you don't know every variable, you don't know what's going to come next necessarily, count on failure. Just count on there being some, and if you don't fail, then awesome. Then somehow you figured it out without going through those heartaches or headaches, But if okay, at some point I'm gonna mess up. I'm gonna have a weekend where I eat like garbage, or I'm gonna get too busy to work out. This whole last month I haven't worked out because I've been busy, and it's like,
I can tell. I wasn't gonna say anything, Mo. I wasn't sure if I was going to bring it up or you were going to bring it up.
We were judging you.
Yeah.
No.
But
that's life. It ebbs and flows.
Yes.
Did you say flabs and flows? What did you
say? Yes.
But it is
part of life, flabs and flows.
Flabs
and rolls.
He could go on all day.
I could. All right, I'll stop.
Those failures are actually what teach us. We learn by those things.
Absolutely.
We learn what works. You learned which diets you could stick with and which ones you couldn't.
What's sustainable.
Yeah.
And it's the same in the photography business, right? I'm shooting weddings and I'm going to mess up. And I did. I messed up a lot. Maybe I didn't get lighting situations right, or maybe I missed a shot that was important, but maybe not important to the bride, but important to me. And I would get down on myself. But then I just realized, okay, I have another weekend. I can try again.
Yeah.
And, I passed on this perfectionism gene to Kennedy, my daughter, and it kills me because she's so hard on herself. And I'm like, listen, I've been there. Don't be me.
Yeah.
We're talking about, and she's learning this in volleyball, because in volleyball, every point scored is an error, essentially.
Yeah.
It's someone's error. So I'm like, you are going to make errors all game long. That's what's going to get you points. If they make the errors, you're going to get the points. That's the way volleyball works.
Yep.
So you just got to pick yourself up. You can't get down on yourself. And I've watched her grow so much in that. I just want to teach her now so that she's not 35 afraid to take risks, or scared to mess up.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, for sure. And you just said that too, that, with volleyball, that's a team thing. With our intermittent fasting, that's something that we've, challenged each other with. And something, I almost feel like this is in some ways almost like a paired episode with our last episode of learning, because I feel like in change, like this is just another thing in life that if you are pushing yourself to something, ultimately, yes, it does fall on you as far as like being, John, you said being committed to do it, but it is way easier to be committed to something if you've got somebody else who can cheer you on and say,
it's so true.
Like,
you need a buddy.
Yeah.
You just do in so many areas.
Yeah.
And it's the Lord made us that way.
This is
social creatures.
Yeah.
Yep.
We need human connection. We need relationship. And I'm just being the outgoing person I am. I thrive off of that. Like I never go home and feel drained by being with people. I need that.
Well, I mean, if you think about it though, too, with change, we just determined that one of the big reasons people do not change is because of failure, right?
Right.
So
fear of failure.
So in order to, at least the way I'm seeing it, in order to really tackle change, a big element in the success of it is having some sort of encouragement. Yes, results can be an encouragement, but to have somebody in your corner rooting for you or saying, "Hey, don't worry about it, man. Keep going." Man, I'll bet that increases your chances of success tremendously.
Right.
Yeah. And and Mo, you were just saying that's the way that the Lord made us too, and it's like I feel like I don't want to have at the end of every episode where we're like, okay, it's time to make it spiritual. Yeah, it's time to pray. But that is, change in our life, even within the context of Christianity, our walk with the Lord. Like there are things where we want to mature in the Lord. We don't want to stay the same as what we are, and that's very that's a biblical principle. Like to not just kind of hang out here, where we are, but to mature in the Lord. But the way that we do that, granted, there are those times where we just have to be diligent in seeking Him and stuff like that. But there's also like those times when we're together as a group and we can actually encourage each other.
We need the body.
It's a dangerous place to start to try to be off by yourself and do that. So this is
good.
Yeah. So Mo, see, this wasn't so bad.
No.
Oh, man.
I want to come back.
Yeah.
So John made the comment the first episode, how I told him, he said he wanted to have me on, and I said, "You have me on when you get good." Like, I'm such a jerk. You are good. I walked into the studio. For those of you who can see the studio, it is beautiful. Like, this is legit. It's gorgeous. The sound is amazing. Like, I'm just so proud of you guys.
Thanks,
You're doing it.
Awesome.
You're living the dream.
Thanks, Mo.
Yeah.
Living the dream. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
We're doing it.
We're doing it. No, this is exciting. And as we said, and we'll continue to say, our main goal in this is to just really enjoy it and have fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't got a whole lot of other things going on in our lives, so
That's not true.
For yourself. Speak
no.
for yourself.
I know. I'm joking when I say but I'm just saying, like, this is going to be a little fun hobby of ours, and if it's successful, great. If we just find a group of people that really enjoy what we're doing, that right, Jeremy, we agree that that's a success in our book. So.
And we want you guys, all one of you, as John said, no, whoever's listening, we want you guys to feel we want to encourage you to engage with us however you want to. So if you have questions, if you guys have ideas for any of the podcasts or anything like that you want us to talk about, whatever it might be, we are not above any of you. Absolutely. We've said it before. We're two guys just having some conversations. We want to encourage you. We want you guys to laugh and whatever. But
we're looking for positive comments, even constructive criticism.
Grandma comments only.
Yeah. Yeah. We just want praises.
Yeah.
I mean, one of you may want to fight one of us. I mean, just let us know. We just want all the feedback. Yeah, you hit it right on the head, Jeremy. That's the gist of this whole thing, and it's so cool to have our friends on this too and have them involved.
I'm honored.
I'm
honored.
No, it was, John and I too, we when we were thinking about who could we have on, because Grant, it's inevitable. There's people who joke around like, oh, when are you going to have me on the podcast? And we don't want to just have people on just to have them on. But when I thought of you, I'm like, Mo will be great. She's like great at conversation. She's got, everybody's like, oh, are you guys going to talk about her photography business? Like people thought that's what we were going to have you on for.
What do you take pictures of?
What is your exposure for?
Wide lens, or what do you think of panoramic views?
No. So
these HD cameras now they got.
I knew he was gonna say
all
that.
these pixels.
Yeah.
Well, and we knew it would come up, with everything, but you've got way more to say than just
you're more than just a photographer.
Oh, thanks.
So
okay, I got a random thing that I just want to throw out there.
I love random.
This has happened to me more and more, and you probably won't relate to this, but Jeremy, I know I've talked to other guys and it's kind of happened to them, but when
what are we about to talk
what
about
is
right
when I
now?
go to the bathroom, right? This isn't disgusting. It isn't disgusting.
Okay.
But this is the weirdest thing that's been happening to me lately. I'm forgetting to zip up my pants.
Oh.
What is up with that? It's weird.
It's age.
You're getting old, dude.
For 40-something years, I've zipped my pants up. When did that not become part of the routine? Like, it got to the point where I thought maybe none of my pants had good zippers. I thought they're all falling down. And I keep catching myself. I'm washing my hands. I'm like,
your routine is out of whack.
It is.
It is.
But does that happen to you?
You didn't push the chair in tonight?
I know. What's wrong with it? Change. It's all about change.
Yeah.
Welcome it.
Trying to change.
John, if you start just getting senile while we as this show goes on over the years, I'll be here.
We'll take care of you.
We'll still save that seat for you no matter what, John. So,
yeah. No. You'll just prop me up on the chair.
Okay, so this took a turn, John, with the random thing. This is something we talked about.
Hey,
if we
that's
have
what
like
I'm
a
here for.
thing.
That's what I'm here for, to take us around this roundabout.
Okay, so
that's what I do.
Zippers down.
Yep.
You get Mo. I think you were at church the other day. You had like a little bit of your makeup or something was in your eye.
Goop.
And I said, Mo, you got a little makeup or something right there.
Thank you so much. I hate when people don't say it.
Yes. Do you tell somebody if somebody's zippers down and you see it?
When we came down to do this, right before we came down, I said, Mo, your collar, I fixed it for you.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah. Because that is frustrating when you're sitting there talking to somebody for a long time and you get home and you got like a piece of spinach wedged up and you're like, nobody said anything.
People are afraid to hurt other people.
That's what it is. That's really what it is.
They don't want to be rude, but it's not rude. You're just helping a friend out.
I know.
It's loving to show somebody or tell somebody when something's awry, something's amiss on them. So,
but that zipper thing never happened to you.
Well, I'm sure my zipper's been down before.
Like you skipped the step.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, have you ever skipped the step?
Oh, I don't know. Probably.
Okay.
Probably.
So I'm not alone. I'm just doing it more and more frequently as I get older.
Crystal's going to be watching this like...
I hope there's some people listening going, me too.
So, we will plug your business right now,
You don't
Mo.
have to do
know
that.
what we're doing
We're
right
doing
now.
Thanks.
Where can people find you, Mo?
You can find me on Instagram at Mo Schultz Photography.
Ooh. Do you have to say at?
I know, right? It was because of the at sign.
At Mo. Yeah,
Right?
yeah. Mo Schultz Photography.
You'll find me on Facebook, although I do not post there often. I kind of given up a little bit because I know that it's not, people don't find me there. They find me on Instagram. So I put all my time and effort into that platform, and it's been very good to me. I also have a website, but you don't have to go to
it. Say it. MoSchultzPhotography.com.
Yep.
There it is.
Thanks.
Are you running any sales or specials right now?
If you enter
Not
the
at this
code
time.
roundabout,
enter
podcast.
roundabout.
No, Mo does amazing work. So we won't put you on the spot any more than that. But she does amazing work,
Thank
and so
you.
if you guys want to find her, do that. thanks for joining us today, guys.
Yeah,
This has
thank
been
you.
a lot of fun.
Thanks
Mo.
for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Mo, for coming in here.
And we will see you guys next time.
All right.
Thanks. Hey guys, thanks for joining us for another episode of the Roundabout Podcast. If you would, please rate, subscribe, and review us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It'll really help us to grow the show. Also, feel free to join us on the Roundabout Podcast community group on Facebook. You can ask us questions, connect with other listeners, and give us ideas for future episodes. We'll see you again soon.